The wind is brutal, the water is rising.
2 intense and deadly storms rocked the globe this week.
Typhoon Mangkhut has rolled into Hong Kong.
Even before the latest storms hit, many people were asking the same key question.
Is climate change making hurricanes worse? Yes.
The scientific debate surrounding climate change may be over.
The facts are crystal clear. Climate change is real.
But not everyone accepts that, making the challenge of reporting on such a charged issue far from simple.
All of this with the global warming and that, a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay?
This month, the BBC surprised some by telling their journalists they don't need to include so-called climate deniers in their stories for balance.
I've heard what Al Gore has to say, and it's the same old claptrap.
So what reaction is the BBC's move getting?
Been in a bit of trouble over the last 5 to 10 years where there's been some pretty high-profile examples, what we might call a kind of car crash interview, where they'd had situations where the presenter of the show had been not informed enough on the topic and hadn't challenged some of the climate skeptic guests.
What kind of reaction has it generated?
Well, the story that I wrote for Carbon Brief, we obtained the 4-page, what they call a crib sheet, which is effectively guidelines on how to report climate change, and also revealed that they were going to be offering 1-hour training courses to journalists. And actually, it did have quite a big pickup. It had a lot of coverage, so a lot of the national newspapers in the UK covered the story, and I was a little bit surprised by that.
As journalists, we're all consumed right now with the need for greater transparency to explain our work to a cynical public. Does this help or hurt that effort, in your view?
In my view, I think it does help. I mean, I've reported myself on climate change and on climate science for more than a decade, and it's a difficult, nuanced subject to get your head around sometimes, and there's a lot of misinformation out there, particularly online. So it's quite easy for rookie journalists and non-specialist subjects kind of mess up the details, and that's kind of understandable because it is tricky. And I think it is a sensible move to produce what is actually quite a simple, straightforward 4-page document, just to outline some of the key underlying science and also some of the bear traps, if you like, the things that some of the reporters have slipped down and fallen on before.
And is it also our tendency really to make sure that we have multiple voices in the stories as a kind of a default?
With something like a scientific issue where there's overwhelming evidence that the world is warming and humans are responsible in the modern era for that warming, that the temptation amongst editors and journalists is to get a he said, she said dynamic within, say, a TV interview or even an article that they're writing. And I think that dynamic and that instinct amongst journalists to present both sides of the story has caused a lot of these problems over the years.
Leo, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.